Hiya guys, welcome to this Kings of War Armada battle report. Well, I say battle report, it is a battle report, but I'm playing myself, so it's like a let's play. I'm going to be taking one Orc ship and one Basilian ship and play the Maritime Patrol scenario, which is basically your line them up and kill each other and get used to the game. So we're going to be showing the how ships move, the wind, how you fight, how you board, and also some interesting fun moments as perhaps I crash into a rock formation, but hey, you'll have to watch and find out. Do please subscribe for more. There's actual battle reports coming for this game, but for now, let's play Kings of War Armada. Okay, so we're all set up. So we've got a Hammerfist in the bottom left, as you can see, and an Elohi, the Basilian ship at the top. I've rolled for the wind, and it's starting over here. So the way that Armada works for activations is pretty cool. So this wind here, if you imagine an imaginary line goes across, first ship it hits activates, then the next ship, and so on and so forth, and the wind can change after each turn. So without further ado, it is Hammerfist time. So it starts at speed 2 from the game, and if we have a look at the Hammerfist card, it's got a movement value of 5, and because it's at speed 2 it gets to make 2 move actions, which means it can move forward, then turn up to its maximum turn of a red. At that point could then fire if it wanted to, and then it can move again, and any weapon not fired it can fire at that point. So let's get moving the Orcs. I don't want to hit the island, so I'm just going to slightly go like that. You don't have to do the full turn, I'm just going to do that. There's nothing, island's block line of sight, so I'm going to go forward another 5, which you have to use your maximum move, so don't hit terrain. There we go. So at this point I could now open fire, however I'm not actually in any form of arc, so your front arc is like that. So obviously we're out, and then broadsides go perpendicular to the sides. Okay. Also with Orcs, I'm limited to a 14-inch range because my weapons, while on this ship, are all light weapons. So looking at the card, I've got 2 light weapons, 2 close weapons. Light weapons from close. These guys like to run into people. So that is the Orcs turn done. It now, wind direction will be the next ship to activate, which would be the Elohi at the top. Okay, so the Elohi is also movement of 5 and at speed 2. So what I'm going to do first of all is sort of demonstrate how we can do a bit more shooting. So we're going to go forward 5, first of all. Now at this point, I can turn and then fire, and it's a red turn arc again. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn ever so slightly in, and that will open up our front guns into range, into arc and into range. So the Elohi has 1 light gun at the front, so let's see if we can shoot these Orcs. Okay, so the only modifiers in Armada, they're really simple. So it's 1 dice because I have 1 light gun shot at the front from the Elohi to the Orcs. It's over 10 inches, so normally I would hit on 6s. The only modifier is +1 to the need for that because I'm over 10 inches. So I'll actually hit on 7s, okay? Throw that dice, and it's a 5, it's a miss. Simple as that. So the Elohi now gets to do his second activation, which is hopefully going to bring a bit of a broadside to bear. Okay, so for second activation, we must move forward 5. And now I'm going to take advantage of the full turning circle here. Do a full turn. Unfortunately, broadside is still out of range, so that is the Elohi's activation done. Very tactical game, very movement orientated. Okay, so it's 10-2. So one of the first things we do is roll for the wind. So at the beginning of each turn after the first, the wind could change direction. So let's see. So we've got a 7. There's no change. This is a really interesting mechanic because it can change the order of activation. But for now, we're still in the same order. Now that is very close, isn't it? So, if we look at the wind direction, I think that's just clipping the Hammerfist first, which might be bad news to for the Basilians. Okay, so Hammerfist turn. Okay, so the Hammerfist is, again, going to have to move its full distance first, but this might be quite nasty. So, move forward 5. And I think the first thing we're going to do, because I don't want to hit this rock which is over here, the first thing we're going to do is slightly turn, like ever so. In fact, we're going to turn fully like that. Okay, and then we're going to fire our front guns at the yellow high, which is for a Hammerfist, 1 light. So it's a light dice again, guys, which is a red. However, at this time, we're within 3 inches, so that counts as point blank range, okay, which adds +2 to my needed dice roll. So on a 6, I'm actually hitting on a 3 up. So I've hit on a 9, and now let's see what damage we do. So that hit with a light weapon would normally do 1 point of damage, but because we're within 3 inches, it's doubled up because it's such brutal close firing. So that 1 point of damage becomes 2. And we mark those off on the yellow high card. So put 2 damage on there. Okay, for the Orc second movement, same again, guys. We have to go forward 5. And I'm going to do that to 6. And we're going to swing in. And in the rules of naval warfare, we're going to give them a good broadside. I'm just going to mark that ship there using that turn angle. And I'm going to swing in. Okay, so this is definitely time for some broadsiding. Okay, so the Hammerfist is obviously going to give him a broadside. It's 2 L and 2 C. So that basically means it's 2 red, 2 black. And the different dice equate to different damage, so it's important to use the correct colours. However, no commander's going to sit there and just let themselves have a good volley and not do anything about it. So there is a rule called Fire as She Bears, which means the yellow high can actually return fire, which is quite interesting. So the yellow high can actually give a broadside back because it's not activated and fired this turn. So what that means is it can actually throw 2 heavy, a light and a close weapon into them. So it's 2 blue, a light and a close. So we've got a bit of a dice off. There's different modifiers, but let's see what damage we can do, starting with the Orcs. Okay, so we normally hit on 6s for the Orcs, but we're at point blank range, so within 3 inches, which means we're on +2, so we're hitting on 4s. Okay, so that's a miss, and then we've got an 8, a 9, and a 9. So different weapons again. So the light weapons normally would do 1 each, but they double up because we're within 3 inches. And we also have a hit with a black, which is a close quarter weapon. Now they normally do 3 damage, but again, because we're within 3 inches, that's doubled. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage to the yellow high, which is a pretty nasty hit. However, the yellow high gets to fire back. Okay, so same again. The yellow high would normally hit on 6s, and we are within 3 inches, so it goes to 4s. However, we are snap firing, which is another -2, so it's back to 6s. Okay, whoa, it's a big hit from the yellow high. So red normally would do 1 damage, double to 2. Black normally does 3, double to 6. Blue normally does 2, double to 4. Okay, so 4, 8, 10, 16 damage on the Hammerfist in the return volley. Absolutely brutal here. So let's mark the damage up, and then we'll get on to some boarding actions. Okay, so the first thing that a ship has to do when it wants to board is throw nets, chains, other things over to actually grapple the ship. And to do that, it needs to take what's called a skill test. What we do now, we align the ships. And to do that, we sort of bring them close together as they hammer into each other. The chains are on. And now the Orcs get to do what they do best, which is a bit of boarding. But again, the Basilians aren't going to stand back and let these Orcs rampage their boat. They're going to fight back as well. Okay, so both ships have a crew strength, little cutlass symbols of 4, and they both get to attack at the same time. So as obviously you've got blood and guts and killing and so on and so forth. So the Orcs do that first. Now there's no colour differential here. We are hitting on normally on 6s, and a natural 10 is a crushing blow. Okay. However, because the Orcs are on their first attack, they get +1 to these rolls. So basically, it's on 5s. Okay. So those 2 miss. we've got one hit which does 2 damage in a boarding, and a crushing blow which does 4, so that's 6 damage to the yellow high. But the Basilians aren't just going to stand back, they're going to do some attacking back too. So it's 6s to hit them, and 10s are crushing blows. Okay, so unfortunately, it's only 2 damage back to the Orcs, which we'll mark on the card by putting a 3 on, taking a 1 off. And that is the end of the boarding action. So for the start of turn 3, we need to see what happens with the wind. So back to our table again, guys. Whoa, oh, it's a big 12. Move 1 step anti-clockwise. So currently it's there. Anti-clockwise. So we're now into this corner here. So the wind rosette moves. Our angle is now coming like this. And it's Basilian's first. So he's got a few options. He is currently still grappled. So the options are he can either try and break away or he can fight. So let's see what he does. So there are 2 options here. The Basilians can either attack, which is a bit of a dice slug off, I think. Or they can try and disengage, which is a skill test, which is regular 5 up. Okay. However, it's a -1 modifier to that, so it becomes a 6+ to get away, which they have done. So now it goes back up to speed 1. So they were grappled, they went to anchored. They get to go to speed 1 once I find my token. There we go. Nope, maybe not. There we go. So they get to go to speed 1. And then do a move and shoot as normal. Okay, so now to do our movement, which is 5. And I'm going to try and swing in as best I can, okay, because we don't have any rear guns. So, nope, not moving the ships, there we go. He's just missed, hasn't he? Just missed. So, unfortunately, there's not a great deal can be done there. So, it's over to the Orcs. Now, the Orcs are anchored because they were just engaging, so they're going to increase their speed to 1. And they're also going to move away. Get a bit of distance between us, eh? Now, Orcs don't have a rear facing gun either. So, we're all going to start positioning for next turn. So back to the wind rosette. So rolling for the wind. 8, no change. So this is actually the Orcs first in this direction, and if we've noticed this, that could be pretty bad. So the Orcs are going to activate first. Let's see if they can get any actual damage in this turn, eh? Okay, so the Hammerfist can actually increase its speed by 1 if it wishes to, which I'm going to do. So it allows me to hopefully get back in the fight. So we're going for 5. 10 full. I'm going to have to try and traverse this island, aren't we? There we go. Now I'm still, unfortunately, out of cannon arc there. I'm going to go 5 again. And make a turn around the island. Okay, so we're out of range of all the guns, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens over there, because I believe that might be a bit of a crime. Okay, so an example of how important manoeuvring is. You have to move your full distance, and that 5 distance actually brings this ship in contact with a rock. Smash. Now rocks cannot be evaded. You just collide with it. And the way they work, they then deal D10 worth of damage to the ship based on its size. Okay, size medium means that it's got 3. Okay, so that ship unfortunately takes 4, 7, 9 damage. Well done, Captain Tom. There we go. So at 25, 6, 7 damage, that has now also hit its nerve test. But the first thing we do, turn it simple as little amount as possible, so that the ship can actually now evade, which is also bad for it. And let's see what happens. Okay, so it's not looking amazing, is it really? So we have to let's move forward. 5. Then we're going to turn. I think we're going to make use of the full turn arc. Hopefully not floating off the board next turn. I think it's important to note there as well that yes, the Aloha has heavy guns on its side, but the island is blocking line of sight. So it's just an interesting sort of The corridors obviously are out of line a little bit as well, but if there was any ambiguity there, the island is actually blocked line of sight completely. So it's now over to the Orcs 10. Okay, so the Orcs have had enough of this, it's time to get wrecking face. They're going up to speed 3, which allows us 3 movement steps. Okay, so first one, to 6, and we turn. Second movement step. Remember, it's full movement, guys. I'm using 1 as my starting point on the ruler as well. I just find it easier just to slide across, and I'm eyeballing this a little bit. They're coming for you. Okay, so final one. Let's see where we end up. With a bit of a turn there as well, haven't we? So we turn like that, and let's see about some shooting at speed 3. Okay, so the Hammerfist has one long gun on the front. It's over 10, so we'll be hitting on normally 6s, now the 7s, and because I'm going 3, speed 3, full speed, it's another -1, so I'm hitting on 8s. Which is a miss, but you know, it's always worth rolling them, guys, when you can. That's the end of the turn. Let's roll the dice for wind. Another 9, which remains where it is. So, I believe that is the Orcs' turn. So, let's try some ramming. So, Orcs have a special rule which allows them to ram. So, why would you not, eh? So, basically, a ram is a deliberate collision. So, I do my first move step. Into 6, and I may as well actually fire at the low high this point. So 1 dice again, guys. Oh, misses. Then I'm going to follow my second move step. I can't shoot the same gun again, but I can now ram. So basically, a ram is a deliberate collision. So I automatically, as an Orc player, I automatically fail my skill test, but the low high has an option of getting away. Now skill tests are actually on D6, so apologies for the earlier error on that, but I don't think it would have made a massive difference. So basically there's no positive dice roll modifier here. They need a 6, which they don't get. So now we have a ram. Okay, so the way a ram works, both ships have 1d10, okay? And we roll that, and that is the damage on the other ship. Okay, so the low high gets a 7. The Orcs get a 1. However, the Orcs have a special ram 2, so that goes up to 3. And because we're at battle, we're at full speed, we actually add 5 to that damage score. Okay, so the Orcs do 8 damage on the low high, but on the flip side, they do 12 damage to the Orcs. So let's total those up. So both ships are now actually on 30 damage exactly, which cripples both of them because it's exceeding their nerve value, so 28 and 27 respectively. The Orcs have 8 hit points left and your low high has 6. Next activation this would mean something, but it does also mean for boarding actions you're down to half crew strength, you're down to half dice for your shooting and so on and so forth. However, the Orcs now actually get to attempt to board the low high, which is now a dice roll, which we've actually passed, I believe. Let me double check that. Yes, that's a ram and an alignment. So I'm going to align the ships as best we can. They're a bit, there we go. Okay, so it's now, I'll roll off again. So we're both crippled and we attack each other. Okay, crippled. They're down to half dice, so 2 dice from the Orcs. So normally it's 6s, however it is the first time we've done a boarding action this following a grapple, so we're on 5. So, there we go. So, we have 2 damage from the Orcs onto the yellow high. It's getting a bit ropey for them, isn't it? However, the yellow high gets to fight back, and it's 6s. Oof. Big 4 damage back. So, another 4 damage. That's really interesting, isn't it? So, we're now on 34 damage on the Orcs. Now, rather embarrassingly for the Orcs here, they actually lost that boarding action and they are crippled, they're below their nerve value. So what it means is they could actually surrender. So they take what's called a nerve test. It's based on a D6. It's a skill test, but it's a -1 modifier. So basically, on a 6, we are all right. There it is, typical, when I'm doing a demonstration game, I roll like crazy. So they don't surrender. The Orcs want to continue, but it is the Alohi's activation. What are we going to do? We're going to fight. Are we going to stay and fight? I think they are. So it's engaged in a continual boarding action. So basically, it means that it gets to fight again. Can we sink these Orcs? So 2 dice. We're looking for 6s. And we get none. And the Orcs get to fight back. Ooh, that's a big 4 damage. Big 4 damage on the Alohi, which takes it to 36. And because this damage total has now exceeded the SP, or the ship points, or met, or exceeded, it's met it, the Orcs have actually killed all of the crew on that ship, which is a very orky thing to do, isn't it? So this ship is now, it's not removed from the board, it's still a collision threat but for the purposes of the game, it counts as destroyed. Okay, so that would actually end the scenario. So very lucky, brave Orcs there for a last dice roll, but quite an interesting one. The opposing player would still get points for the amount of damage on this Hammerfist. But yeah, so that's the basic mechanics of Armada. So I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. Please subscribe for more. There'll be actual battle reports coming, and we might try some demonstrations with some dwarves when they arrive and things like that. So as always, guys, keep playing Armada and happy hobbying.